Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 23 Driver Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today it is race number 3 of this 23 round season here as we head into Circuit de Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix. Alex Albon and McLaren have swept the first 2 races. Last episode in Baku, we picked up our first podium of the season while the sophomore driver for McLaren of Aiden Jackson able to pick up his first podium, in the second race of the season as we would roll through into practice here this weekend, fresh off of an up and down start obviously to the season with a mechanical failure in the season opener in Melbourne. We rebounded Baku and was able to put up a very solid result there. The strong pace in this car really comes in the long run, so we're kind of ready for that kind of thing again this weekend as we roll into practice now. And what can we do here in Spain? This is a track that I have a lot of high hopes for. I'm a big fan of driving this circuit. I've had a lot of luck here in past F1 games well before I started doing it here on the YouTube side back in like F1 2011 even. So I was pretty excited for this one here now as we get to rip these V8 engines around this circuit now. I know there's actually a V10 engine mod as well out, but we're just going to stick with the V8 engine mod. It just works. It sounds great now as we continue with this Red Bull Ford, and pretty happy with how the car felt in practice. Felt like we were setting ourselves up pretty well for qualifying, which should be an easy Q3. If we look back at last episode in Baku, and you can see the practice times on the board, myself and Verstappen, I mean, less than half a tenth separate the two of us. Now we were ready to roll into qualifying on Saturday afternoon here. You can see a little bit of cloud cover over the top, but not too bad. No threat of rain this weekend. It looks like we're going to go, the first 3 Grand Prix weekends, at least on race day, without any rain. You guys know by now, I thrive in the rain, so I'm not against it raining. I'm hoping it happens, but it's just not happening so far to kick off the season. We roll into the weekend in Q1. Actually, I made a mistake right there going wide in the sweeping right-hander, so it made it an overall rough first lap, and that forced me to run a second lap here and hopefully not screw it up. We went P10 for the time being, but everybody was improving their times, and as you can see through here, I was able to improve significantly, gain half a second. We were down to 15th, so we're going to make it into Q2, barely either way with that lap, but I put in another one anyways, and that puts us up to P8. Verstappen 4th right there. As you can see, the 5 drivers out. The rookie of Drugovich, Lawson, Porcher, and the other 2 rookies of Jake Hughes as well as Cali Mayer as we come through into Q2 now. And it's looking like a 2-lap run kind of qualifying session for each round, Q1, Q2, Q3 kind of deal. It's actually invalidate my lap time on my first lap. So the first laps of these both rounds so far not going very well. I would gain some time here on the exit of that same corner because I had backed out of it the first time around, so it was really hard to get a baseline of where I was going to be backing out of the gas area, out of the final turn, just to make sure I don't invalidate the time. It was enough to make it into Q3, P7. Ocon out, as well as Yuki Tsunoda, Zhou Guan Yu, as well as Yumu Iwasa and Devin Butler in the Connor Sport there in 15th place out in Q2. We roll into Q3 now. The money on the line. What can we do here? As you can see right now, it's Piastri, Gasly in front of us, and the Ferrari duo of Sainz as well as Charles Leclerc. Ferrari picked up that win, of course, late last season. Can they get back to where they need to be with these regulation changes? I only go P7 on my opening lap, so that was a bit frustrating. I felt like we have a lot more pace in this car. Verstappen drops to P6, and we are gaining time. Look at this, 0.2 of a second gain as we come towards the final sector at this point, giving up a little bit of time, but still about 0.3 gain. This is going to look pretty well for us if we can keep this up, of course. Now as we run wide, though, into the gravel, and we're going to loop it around, and there it goes. I'm around. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. And it's going to be P7. We were going to be ahead of Verstappen if we kept that up, and maybe Sainz for 5th. It is what it is. They're pushing a little bit too hard. Aiden Jackson gets his first pole in Formula 1. He outqualifies his teammate of Alex Albon. Russell Norris to follow, but P6, P7 for Red Bull Ford. What can we do on the grid? Let's find out.
Welcome along everyone to sunny Spain, specifically to the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. So many great moments in Formula 1 history have been written at this very track over the years, including Michael Schumacher's first win for Ferrari back in '96. That win was in the rain. We might have better weather here today, but we're just as overjoyed to be at the Spanish Grand Prix. It's an updated track at Catalunya, and we welcome the removal of the chicane in the final sector, shortening lap times times and reducing the total running to 2.9 miles and 14 turns. This was actually the original setup for the track, but it hasn't been used since 2007. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. An immense lap from Aiden Jackson yesterday, and it's put him on pole, just edging out Alex Albon, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Russell, Norris, Sainz, Verstappen, Golden Boy, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Ocon, Tsunoda, Joe, Iwasa, Butler, Drugovich, Liam Lawson, Teo Pourchaire, Hughes and Callie Mayer. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And joining me again for the race today, Natalie Pinkham.
And joining me again for the race today, Natalie Pinkham.
Let's talk about Mercedes. There have been some tweaks to the power unit regulations, of course, and I have to say it doesn't seem, so far at least, that they've been able to keep up.
It doesn't look promising for them so far. And if the new regs have hit them as hard as we think, well, I suspect they may need a few late nights at the factory to get back on track.
All right, Gary, good luck out there today. We know you have good pace. Keep it clean.
Yep, thanks, Christian. Let's have a good day. Ready to roll then, and you guys are not going to believe the strategy that I've gone with. It's mediums to hards. Where have we seen that before? Like 99% of the races, I feel like, in this career mode. Nonetheless, ready to roll for the formation lap. Let's get after it.
And here we go. The formation lap gets underway here in Spain. This track offers a great variety of high speed, medium speed and low speed corners, allowing for some fantastic racing, which hopefully will continue on here today. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can, and they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
Okay, mate, I echo what Christian said. Let's have a good day today. Be patient on the short run.
Yes, sir. Let's have fun today, guys. Thanks for the hard work this weekend. Hopefully we'll have a good one. Ready to roll then. So, we know, based off of the little bit we had in Australia and the whole Grand Prix we got to do in Baku, we know the short-term pace in this Red Bull Ford isn't quite there, but we know the long-run pace as the tires wear is exactly where this car needs to be. So what can we do on the short run today? 5 red lights here in Catalonia. The Spanish Grand Prix is underway now. Is this good launch for myself? A terrible launch for everybody in front of me there. I have nowhere to go. I'm boxed in between Verstappen and Sainz. I had to back out of it, and that destroys my momentum. Here comes Leclerc up the inside. We're 3 wide with him and Pierre Gasly into turn 1, trying to leave room for both of them there. I didn't realize right off the bat we were 3 wide, but look up ahead. It's not Aiden Jackson who started on pole that's gone down the road. That's Alex Albon, who's won the first 2 Grand Prix of the season. He was really the only one that got a good launch there and took right off and said see you later, and unless something goes wrong, it's going to be very hard to beat him. I've gone around the outside of the Spaniard in this home Grand Prix of Carlos Sainz. It's almost a home Grand Prix for the BMW team, of course. They are co-owned by Fernando Alonso. He is on with a big role in that team, as well as basically an advisor and a driver kind of development coach, basically, for that whole team with Ayumu Iwasa, as well as Felipe Drugovich. Now, as we continue on, completing the opening half of this first lap of the Spanish Grand Prix, 33 laps, a lot of time for things to develop here. It's all about being patient, because right now, the 1-lap pace, like we've said, the 1-lap pace and the short run pace in this Red Bull is just not quite there. It's all about what can we do on the long run, hang on the best we can on the short run. End of lap 1, Russell going for an overtake already on Verstappen in turn 1, and then they do this stupid ghosting thing that Codemasters and EA thought, you know what, we should put this in this game. One of the worst things in the game, in my opinion, when it comes to single player mode now, and I can't believe they thought that was a good idea still. But a lap later, with the DRS enabled, Russell up the inside of Verstappen. He had no DRS, of course, to work with on that one, but he clears Verstappen into 4th on the soft tire he is, while myself and Max are both on the mediums. Of course, we had a little bit of a run-in with Verstappen last episode in Baku with some radio controversy going on there, hoping to avoid that here this weekend and not have to ask Verstappen to get out of my way, and hopefully we can just, navigate our way around him. Right now, not close enough to really pounce on anything, but speaking of pouncing, here goes Yuki Tsunoda going for an overtake on Carlos Sainz. This is the run down towards turn 1. He's on the softs, Sainz on the mediums there. Not going to make it easy for Yuki now as Tsunoda goes goes around the outside, completes the overtake. The Aston Martin really does feel similar to the Red Bull Ford, and of course that's my former team from the last 2 seasons of this career mode, but they really seem to take off as the race goes on as well, compared to the Ferrari, which seems to not be as strong. And the Mercedes, they seem to fall off as the race goes on, which brings Red Bull right into the conversation for the podium at the end. Then you got the McLaren. That's just strong the whole race, and that's what we of course need to get our team to being here, hopefully within the next handful of episodes. Specifically, we're kind of really eyeing the summer break, as that's when we need to be really good by. Otherwise, you know, the championship's just not going to be a realistic threat this season. And fortunately, we have 23 rounds, so there's a lot of time for things to develop, and more time for not only our team to move into the mix, but Ferrari and Aston Martin very well have the resources to make it a 5-team fight this season, which would be absolutely insane. But we're starting to put pressure now on Verstappen as these laps go on. Look at this, lap 7 towards the end. Look at him slide right there, a couple of moments, and that's going to keep me right on him as we come through now with the DRS open on lap 8. You can see Verstappen's, I mean, not really going to be able to defend really well. He has a DRS himself as well from George Russell, but down into turn when we go a deep dive into the corner, we'll complete the pass there on our teammate. We have beat him in one of the 2 Grand Prix so far. The other one in Australia, we had the mechanical failure, but he was beating me at the time of that mechanical failure, so it is important to mention that he still definitely had some more pace. In qualifying, it's been all Verstappen on terms of pace so far. We haven't been able to out-qualify him. Battles continue behind, though, but look at this, a close call between Sainz and Tsunoda, who look to be battling again, and it maybe is starting to appear that the mediums are starting to kick in compared to the soft tire. And I think what you're about to see is that theory maybe completely shredded by Tsunoda go back up the inside of Sainz and pass him before turn 1. However, I do think the softs are starting to fade. We're on lap 9 of 33 at this point, towards the end of life cycle for those tires, and you're going to start to see Russell now has gotten past Lando Norris at this point, so Russell's been moving forward very well. Lando's starting to slip and slide up there, so even though he's got a tire that's going to be better than Russell's the longer the run goes, it's not really appearing to be the situation there for Lando, as the battle's still going on in the back between Aston and Ferrari. Now, both teams so evenly matched, it seems like, and you can see this is Piastri, who's had in both Grand Prix so far really strong runs through the grid. He has had poor starts, not the best qualifying efforts, and then he's gone on these marches through the Grand Prix. But here we are on the back of Lando Norris. He's got DRS, but it's not enough. Up the inside we go. Verstappen trailing as well, 9/10 of a second behind. A deep lunge into turn 1. I feel like I can really get deep into these corners on the brakes, almost Daniel Ricciardo-esque with this Red Bull Ford, and it's really starting to pay, a big positive for myself here now. As you can see, it's Albon, Jackson, Russell, myself, Norris, Verstappen, the top 6. We're all within striking distance. Yes, the McLarens, they're driving away currently, but already what I'm seeing is the gap is quite a bit smaller than the first 2 Grand Prix. We have brought some upgrades. Every team's, of course, trying to bring upgrades as quickly as they can, but McLaren, already the gap for sure is getting a little bit smaller here. As you can see, Verstappen now putting the fight to Norris, who continues to fade. Who's going to get through turn 1 first? I think it's going to be Max. Hold on, they continue wheel to wheel. Not going to be easy, but Verstappen's going to get it. Norris continues to struggle.
I got nothing, guys. I need to box for new tyres.
You hear the radio from Lando, and you see the contact from Piastri and Sainz as the Astons are starting to take off. And we come through to lap 14, and the pressure is on to George Russell. Into a podium position we go. Are we going to go back-to-back podiums here in race 2 and 3? We just need to hang on. Jackson's only 2 seconds up the road, and the gap may be getting smaller. Not going to be right away, because we just had this battle with Russell, and he's not going to make it easy. He wants to fight back here. He's looking. Is he going to make the move into the corner? No, he is not. He's going to stay put behind. At the end of the lap, leader Alex Albon comes in, looking like a clean sweep for the first 3 Grand Prix, unless he, of course, makes a mistake or a safety car maybe throws a bit of a curveball at these teams. But we were getting ready to pit ourselves, and my pit window opens lap 16, but I decided we're going to pit a lap early, so we're going to come in at the end of lap 15 right here. 2.3 seconds a gap, as I get a bit of a warning there for exceeding track limits, but you can see Jackson stays out, so we should be able to gain something on the McLaren driver now as we roll into our pit box here. So mediums, of course, coming off, and the hards going on here as we get ready to go back out on circuit, and hopefully, most importantly, into clean traffic, or into clean air, I should say. And we're going to come out right behind these 2 drivers here of Russell and Gasly. So hopefully by the time we catch Gasly, he's going to be pitting. Russell, of course, is straight up 4th position. So we come out in just about as clean air as we could, really. And sure enough, by the time I catch Pierre, he's coming into the pit, so it makes it really easy for myself. We even get the DRS from him, but it took me a minute, of course, to get these hards warmed up, but you can see that still a few laps later it would be until Jackson, Norris, Verstappen would come in. I was surprised to see Norris pit so late considering how much he was struggling on those tires, but Albon already cycles through back into the lead. The question is, where are we going to cycle out here now? We'll pass Verstappen, we'll pass Norris. Verstappen's even behind Norris, so not a great stop there, and you can see right there, Jackson is almost the same gap. I mean, we actually gain close to a second, so we would cut the gap to 1.3 seconds by the end of the lap, but now Jackson's hards are warmed up and into that prime temperature area, so now we're going to see what he's capable of doing, and unfortunately, he was capable of driving away as Verstappen sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but we know this car, its struggle point right now is on the fresh rubber. We got to wait for these tires to wear. This got to be patient. And Jackson now closing in on George Russell in the Mercedes. What is he going to be able to do? Albon running away with this Grand Prix win. He's going to make it 3 for 3, like I said, unless something, goes wrong. Now over 2 seconds and only 3 to Norris. The cars behind me even closing, including my teammate Verstappen. We run wide. We're going to go for a spin here and up and almost into the air. We do go into the air. I am so stupid, man. It didn't turn, and I don't know what I'm doing. We're going to get it back rolling. I mean, I understeered for days right there, and instead of, backing out of it, I just try to push through it, and sometimes you can get away with that, and I was hoping that was going to be one of those moments. I certainly did not get away with it there. We were down to P9, under pressure now from Leclerc, but I just threw a podium away. They were closing in behind me, but I was confident we'd still be able to hang on. That was frustrating. A simple mistake, and that's the second spin we've had in the Red Bull this weekend. Now it's like, oh God, am I going to be the next Sergio Perez for the team? As we're going to go through the grid, though, with 10 laps remaining.
Once again for the third race in a row, it's all Alex Albon and McLaren paving the way for everyone else. It looks like they have lost a bit of pace, however, to the chasing teams this weekend.
Oh, absolutely, as we see Russell and Jackson having a mega scrap into turn 1 there. Jackson stays ahead and will try to run off into the sunset, but that shows all you need to know right there. Mercedes and Red Bull Ford making gains already, and I would say by race 7 or 8 they will both be pressuring for race victories.
Both the Aston Martins running right together in 6th and 7th right now as they continue to drive away from the Ferraris, and Owen, after his recent spin,
look how much the Alpine has fallen behind. 11 seconds out of the points for them right now. Drugovich having a solid day with BMW. Again, like Baku, a very promising start to his career so far, similar to how Aiden Jackson got on early last year, and we saw how that worked out for him going into this season.
Butler, Joe, Lawson, Hughes, Mayer and Pourchaire chasing behind from 15th as that will wrap up through the grid.
And there you see it, Calimere running P19, tail Pourchaire dead last right now in 20th in these closing laps of the Grand Prix. Right to lap 28 now. The gap to Leclerc about the same, 0.7 of a second, but I was finally back into the range of closing in on Carlos Sainz, and I would get into his DRS on this lap, so that would really open the door for now at least a run for P8. We're not going to be able to run down the Astons of Tsunoda and Piastri, who are right there together. Now pay attention as we're headed to pass Sainz on this straightaway. He's not going to be able to really defend it, but look at the track map. Russell has really faded back, and he's about to be under attack from his teammate of Norris, but who's Norris bringing with him? Our teammate of Max Verstappen, who's yet to be on the podium this season, but he might have a chance to do that here today. 2 laps to go, and now look at the track map there, going through Sector 2, and look how close they are. They are right on each other, basically breathing on each other's neck, and what's going to happen here is we start the final lap for Alex Albon and Aiden Jackson, who's put together a really solid second run, but this is the scenes as the white flag is in the air. Verstappen, a move to the right side of Russell, and now, Norris. Russell defends it. Norris around the outside. Can he get Russell on the final lap of the Grand Prix? No, he can't, because it looks like that Russell, yes, he will stay ahead. What can Verstappen do now? As you can see, a little bit of that dirty air affecting the handling of the Mercedes of Norris, and now Verstappen up the inside. Not going to be enough Norris barely hangs on, and that'll sort things out. Verstappen's going to have to settle for 5th. Alex Albon sweeps the first 3 Grand Prix of the season. Unbelievable scenes there for him. Aiden Jackson going to come through for a 2nd place result here in Spain. And it's going to be Russell, Norris, Verstappen, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Myself, through the final turn. It is going to be a solid P8 rebound, but definitely, frustrating considering we were looking at a podium result, and instead it turns into 8th place after a self-inflicted accident there. All on my own doing, 100% my fault. Driver of the day, Yuki Tsunoda. Let's head to the podium for the celebrations for Alex Albon again.
A real team effort then, which has paid off in spades. A great victory here at the Spanish Grand Prix. So, Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
Quite simply, a driver is nothing without the team behind them. So, a deserved winner, but we do have to give a shout out to the team in the pit lane and back at the factory. Very much a collaborative process.
Alex Albon is becoming the superstar of Formula One, and I think we're going to hear from him here in the coming episodes now on his thoughts on that. But, I mean, absolute dominance again from him, and you can see Jackson as well as George Russell on the podium. You know, the big thing is we are making headway on McLaren. Not only Red Bull, but so is Mercedes. The gap definitely starting to come down a little bit. But yeah, there's still very obviously work to do before the Red Bull Ford is going to be a race winner. We are very much so a podium contender, as we have proven already, and we were proving it again today. But podiums aren't going to cut it. We need just a little bit more to go and fight with the McLarens, and we're going to be right in this championship battle. But we gave up some big points today, which, you know, it's a 23 race season. When we look at the season's end, it's going to be a race like this that we look back on, and if we lose the championship by a few points of where it could have, you know, where it was that we lost it. And we are 58 back, which sounds like a big number, but at this point in the season, not concerning quite yet. On the constructors side of things, we'll take a look there. Red Bull currently 3rd, 20 points between us and Mercedes. McLaren has a 41-point advantage over 2nd. That'll do it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, and have yourselves a great day.